Upanishad. Okay, let us start with mantra. Om Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Ishavasya sarvam yatkincha jagatyam jagat tena tyaktena bhunjitha magradha kasya svidhanam kurvanneveha karmani jijivishet shatam samaha evam tvainan yathetosti na karma lipyate nare asuryanamate lokandhena tamasavrata tamste pretyabhigachanti ye ke chatmahano jana anejadekam manaso javiyo nainadevapnuvan purvamarshat tadhavaton yanatiyeti tishthat tasminnapo matarishvadadhati tadejati tannaijati taddure tadvantike tadantarasya sarvasya tadusarvasyasya bahyataha yastu sarvani bhutani atmanyevanupashyati sarvabhuteshu chatmanam tato na vijugupsate yasmin sarvani bhutani atmaiva bhud vijanataha tatra ko mohah kakshoka ekatvam anupashyataha. So I will stop here. So we covered three first shlokas last time. So all this is for habitation by the Lord. Isha vasyam idam sarvam. Idam sarvam, all this, is to be inhabited. Vasyam, it is participle futurum passive voice, to be inhabited by the Lord. Sri Aurobindo translates for habitation. But if we literally translate, is to be inhabited. So all this is to be inhabited by the Lord. So it implies that it is not yet fully inhabited, and it is in the process of being inhabited. He is more and more available in this manifestation. Yatkincha, whatever exists, jagatyam jagat, whatever moves, whatsoever is individual universe of movement in the universal motion. So jagati is this universal motion in feminine gender, and jagat is the one who moves within this motion, within the mother, so to say. Tena tyaktena bhunjitha, by that renounced, thou shouldst enjoy, you should enjoy. Magaredhach, lust not after any man's possession, kasyas vidhanam. So we dwelt upon this shloka because there are difficult places here, tena tyaktena bhunjitha, which is usually misinterpreted by Advaitins, especially Shankara translated, you enjoy yourself with the renunciation. And he puts the meaning of tyakta as renunciation, though it is a PPP, participle perfect passive voice, so to say, renounced. Literally, by that renounced, you enjoy. That means having renounced all this world, having become free from the object of enjoyment, you should enjoy it. And this is something difficult to accept by Advaitins, and so they translate enjoy yourself with renunciation. Magredhach, don't lust after anything, because whose wealth is it? Kasya svidhanam, and that is wealth of the Lord. So you should not touch it, so to say. You are not here the Lord, which is contradicting to the meaning of the Upanishad. Upanishad says that all this is for his habitation, therefore enjoy yourself as the Lord does, and don't grab anything, because whose wealth is it? If it is you, it is your wealth. It is your wealth as the Lord. So if you are free from the object of enjoyment and engaged in this world, then you can enjoy it as the Lord does, because you are him. But if you are not free, if you run for any object of enjoyment and depend on it, then you are Anisha, you are not the Lord. You depend on the object of enjoyment, and then something else happens. Then you think that by desiring things, you can possess the world. So the desire comes as this deficient action of someone who is not Lord, who is not free from the object of enjoyment. Does it make sense? I'm just reviewing what we did last time. And I told you that for me, that was kind of a revelation. One day in the night, I got this kind of impact, or something came, because this question was all the time. I was never happy with the translation. By that renounced, you should enjoy. Why renounced? What does it really mean? Why he cannot put renounced? Because it doesn't fit into the meaning. By that renounced, you should enjoy. And then one day I got the meaning that you are the Lord. That's why you should enjoy this world as he does, being free from it. And don't lust after anything, because it is like you want to possess something you already given totally. You are by default the Lord of it. And now you want to, how to say, it's like in your house you will suddenly want to possess something. I want to possess this watch. I take it and I put it into my coat pocket. It's my watch already. I don't have to do it. Yeah, it's given for me by default. It's already mine. The whole world is already mine if I am free from the object of enjoyment. But if I'm not, then I will have the desire to have it. The message is quite clear. So you are the Lord, and you can possess the world in his way, being free from it. Kurvanneveha karmani jivishet shatam samaha. But doing here verily works, one should wish to live 100 years. Unexpected turn. Oh, why suddenly doing here verily works, one should wish to live 100 years to stay the full cycle of life. Evam tvai, thus in you, nanyat hetosti, and not otherwise than this. Action cleaves not to a man. Na karma lipyate nare. So there is only one way when the karma, the action, will not create the consequences or the bondage for us. It is when you do it here with the free spirit of the Lord. So having become free from the object of enjoyment, enjoying this world and doing here works, being engaged actively in the world, and wanting to stay till the end of life, not before, leaving not sooner than the end of life. Why it is mentioned? Because when you get the freedom of the Lord, you will get an idea, why should you suffer all this, action in this world? You may want to leave, and many did, many left. You don't want to stay here. Why should you stay? You realized your unborn self. You are very happy, you're in bliss and light of knowledge, and you should stay here and continue your suffering. It's really ridiculous, from the point of view of selfish being. So that's why the verse is saying, but doing here verily works, one should wish to stay till the end of one's own cycle. And thus, and not otherwise, karma does not create consequences. So karma itself, the action, the activity, becomes the way to embody the spirit. Can you imagine with the free spirit of the Lord, you come and you do the works? You create, you work in your factory or in the university with the free spirit of the Lord? What kind of activities you can create, what kind of consequences of these actions could be. They free man, they liberate man from the bondage to the consequences of karma. Karma itself becomes the way to freedom of others. Most probably that's why Mother wanted to cross that, that 100 years mark. She said, if I could only live 100 years, the world would change. Can you imagine? Mother was born with the free spirit of the Lord, born already. And if she would stay 100 years working without creating, with the free spirit of the Lord, it could create a very great liberation for mankind. But unfortunately, she had to leave when she was 95. 5 years she didn't finish. Otherwise, she would feel exactly this requirement of the Isha Upanishad. One should wish to live 100 years. And why it is said wish to live, desiderative is used. One should wish to live. Not to live, but wish to live, wish to stay. And so Sri Aurobindo says that the first shloka defines the freedom of our spirit, of our psychic being. And second shloka speaks about the work we do for the Lord here with that freedom of our psychic being. So once psychic being is free or is in the front, when we realized our lordship in this world, then we can engage in activities. And I was mentioning that Ramakrishna spoke about two types of souls, Jivan Koti and Ishvara Koti. Jiva Koti is those who want to get liberation, as in the first shloka, to become free. But they don't want to work here. They want to leave immediately. Once they are free, they want to go. But the Ishvara Koti is another type of rare souls who, once they are liberated, they want to come back and to engage with creation, to create for the Lord the habitat. Because all this is for his habitation, as the first line says. All is for his habitation. That's why when we are free, we have to work here to stay and to bring his spirit more and more into all the activities. And thus, and not otherwise, karma does not stick to man, cleaves not to man. There is a beautiful word, vasyam, which has six different meanings, but three are mentioned here: to be clothed, to be worn as a garment, and to be inhabited. All three, vas means to live in, to wear, and to be covered. So the first line can be translated: all this is to be worn as a garment by the Lord. He has to take it as his cloth, as his beautiful garment. Or all this is to be shining by his presence, illumined by his light. or all this is to be inhabited by him. So all three meanings in one word, Vasya. Kind of interesting. And there is the third shloka, Asuryanama te loka andhena tamasavritaha. Sunless are those worlds, and enveloped in blind gloom, whereto all they in their passing hence resort, who are slaves of their souls. So there is tanste pretya bhigachanti, into those blind worlds go they, ye ke chatmahano janaha, whoever destroyed their own atman, their own self, their own lordship within them. So there are three types of people: those who are seeking liberation, those who are seeking liberation and working here for the embodiment of the Lord. And there are also people who don't believe in the spirit, and they think that they are the material creatures made by matter, by nature, and they go into the blind darkness after death. They destroy their own spiritual perception. Of course, they cannot do it forever or ultimately, but in that moment when they believe so, most probably they are that. If somebody believes that he is only a chemical, production or chemical reaction, then he is a chemical reaction. So he shares his free consciousness with the nature. He becomes the nature. He becomes the body which dies. And as Christians say, they say that he, in English it is, he's, in Russian it is, he breathed out the spirit. And in the Hinduism, they say he left the body. So it depends where you go, whether you leave the body and go, you are the spirit, or you breathe out the spirit, so to say, and you stay as a body. This example was given by Vivekananda, by the way. He says this is the difference between Christianity and Hinduism. Hinduism, you leave the body, and in Christianity, you breathe out the spirit. You let spirit go and stay here as the body. So in that sense, it fits very well into the third shloka. If you believe that you are the body, then of course you will go into this gloomy space of darkness after death. So here we stopped. It's quite interesting that we have only three options: to be free as a spirit, to be free as a spirit and work here, or to identify ourselves with the nature. And there is no other option. Identifying ourselves with the nature means to be the nature, to work as a nature, and leave afterwards as the nature leaves. So that's it. You can't work for the spirit as a nature if you don't believe in the spirit. I didn't see this before, but now after many years I started to see that there are three major options. And then there is a shift towards the spiritual. If the first three shlokas were speaking about him as a masculine gender, that now we have the it. We speak about it. Anejat ekam manaso javiyah naina deva apnuvan purvamarshat. One unmoving that is swifter than mind, that the gods reach not, for it progresses ever in front. Tadhavaton yana dieti tishtat, that standing tishtat passes beyond others as they run. In that the master of life, tasminapomata rishva dadhati, establishes the waters. So there is a shift towards Brahman. Brahman is the spirit which upholds the universe, all the creation and beyond, and makes this passage from the Lord to the world possible. It is because of Brahman that the Lord can be embodied in everything which moves here in the universal motion. That moves not anejat ekam, that is one, manasah javiyah, faster than the mind, nainad deva apnuvan, the gods cannot catch up with it, cannot reach it. Purva marshat, because it moves always in front. It is always in front, like a carrot in front of the donkey, you know. Donkey may move and try to catch with it, but it will be always in front. And standing steady, it overcomes all running within it. And into him, the Lord of life establishes the embryo of the waters. Shri Krishna in the Gita says that this Samam Brahma, this spirit which is one, equal everywhere, is his yoni, is his womb, into which he casts a seed, and from that seed all creatures come into being. So the Lord uses the spirit as the carrier of his own conception. By the way, it reflects very interesting in Christianity, the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. The Holy Spirit is that womb into which all the seeds are cast by the Lord, by the Father, and from which the Son is coming into being. So the Holy Spirit upholds the manifestation and creates the transition from the Father to the Son connection. It's kind of interesting that philosophically the Trinity in the Christianity corresponds to this vision in the Upanishads. Tadejati, tannaijati, taddure tadvantike tad antarasya sarvasya tadusarvasyasya bhahyataha. That moves, tadejati, tannaijati, that moves not. Tad dure, that is far. Tad u antike, and that is near. Tad antar asya, that is inside all this. Tadu sarvasyasya bhahyatah, and that is outside of all this. That is Brahman. The description of Brahman, that it moves and it moves not. It is far and it is near. It is inside of all this and it is outside of all this. So it is also transcendental. It is the foundation for the Lord, and it is also this world. That is the Holy Spirit. By the way, Sri Aurobindo says this is the greatest discovery of the Vedanta, of the Upanishads, the Brahman. There are 2 footnotes for the verse number 4. Shall we read them? Sri Aurobindo speaks about it. Matarishva seems to mean he who extends himself in the mother or the container. Literally, matari, in the mother, shva, swelling, growing, extending, expanding in the mother. Whether that be the containing mother element, ether, or the material energy called earth in the Veda, and spoken of there as the mother, or the nature basically. It is a Vedic epithet of the god Vayu, pranic god, who, representing the divine principle in life energy prana, extends himself in matter and vivifies its forms. Here it signifies the divine life power and presides in all forms of cosmic activity. Matarishvan is usually known as Vayu, as pranic energy, which is growing within this manifestation and brings the spirit in. Apas, on the other hand, that which he establishes in the spirit, as it is accentuated in the version of the white Yajurveda, can mean only waters. If this accentuation is disregarded, we may take it as a singular apas work, action. Shankara, however, renders it in the plural, it by the plural works. The difficulty only arises because the true Vedic sense of the word had been forgotten, and it came to be taken as referring to the fourth and the fifth elemental state of matter, the liquid. To the fourth of the five elemental states of matter, the liquid. Such a reference would be entirely irrelevant to the context. But the waters, otherwise called the seven streams, or the seven fostering cows, are the Vedic symbol of the seven cosmic principles and their activities. 3 inferior, the physical, vital, and mental. 4 superior, the divine truth, the divine bliss, the divine will and consciousness, and the divine being. Of this conception also is founded, on this conception is also founded the ancient idea of the seven worlds, in each of which the seven principles are separately active by their various harmonies. This is obviously the right significance of the word in the Upanishads. So if we take it in that sense, then the Matarishva establishes the higher consciousness, all the streams of consciousness within this manifestation. He establishes these seven principles. He brings the seven principles into play in this manifestation. Somewhere Sri Aurobindo says that these 3 times 3, which we looked into before, you remember, mental, vital, mental, physical, and so on. And he says that it is not totally correct division. That has to be 7 times 7. And these are the 7 streams of consciousness present within the 7 levels of the being. So, and that is very complicated vision, complex vision, very difficult to trace all the elements. What is this 7 times 7? We do not have the ability of the mind to see all the details. But if we would have that ability, we would see the world as it is. And it would be interesting to try one day. Maybe we will try one day together what it would be 7 times 7. We can see 3 times 3. It's possible. We can see physical, vital, physical, mental, physical. But what it could be on the physical level to see 7 principles. And that's something more difficult. On the vital 7 principles. In the mental 7 principles, it becomes much more difficult. I tried, I couldn't succeed. But maybe with the help of philosophical mind of Benedetta, we can try to do it. That would be lovely too. Nobody dared to do it. No philosopher could try and could make it. But maybe we will succeed one day.
Less philosophical and more maybe anthropological. For the little I know, in numerology, 7 is associated with angels, so it's really very close to this idea, no? These powers of the Lord, angels. It seems like this concept passed through the centuries and remained
okay, right.
Simplified way, but it's quite striking.
You mean these angels, Michael, Gabriel, all these angels, these archangels?
Yeah, in general, the number 7 in numerology is associated. I don't know, maybe Juliette knows it better than me, but for the little I know, the rough association number 7 as, I don't know, 8 is perfection or
Right.
infinite, and 7 is associated with angels, so these
Right. In
powers.
occultism.
Mm.
I remember that there are 7 planets in occultism, and these 7 planets have angels. Everyone has an angel. For example, Michael is the angel of the sun, yeah? Gabriel of the moon, and so on. So these are the archangels, those archangels, which are standing behind the planets. But when we move to zodiac, 12 zodiac, there are no angels there. And that is quite interesting. I didn't think of it, but now I think that these 7 planets may exactly represent these 7 streams of consciousness within our manifestation, represented as planets, as grahas. Because the solar system is actually the world in which the soul manifests. You know, the sun is that entry of the soul into this manifestation. And all these 7 grahas, which are holding the soul within the manifestation, are dealing with this aspect of the development of the soul. There is nakshatras 12, well, the zodiac, yeah? Rashis, which are going into the bigger cosmos. They represent the holding of the bigger body. And the moon is there, the intermediary, so to say, in the Vedic system, in the Vedic astrology.
But in Vedic astrology, I think you have 9 planets.
Right, you have 2 more, yes, but they are not planets. These Rahu and Ketu, they are there. Yeah, well, they are considered to be grahas. You are right.
Yes.
Yeah, but they are. I do not know what they are, truly speaking. They are not identified as planets, and
Rahu and Ketu, they are the junction between the way of the sun and the way of the moon,
right,
seen from the earth.
right.
The moon is going around the earth, and the sun seems to go around the earth. And when they cross, it's Rahu and Ketu. It's virtual point,
Right,
not real planet.
right. Yeah, there are still 7 days, 7 days in a week. 7 planets. And it's interesting that the same 7 days are in the Indian calendar and the Western calendar. They are not different. They are the same, which is very surprising because these 2 traditions kind of developed over thousands of years separately. But how come that they have same weekdays? It's really weird. Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, the same planets in both traditions. Yeah, Alexander.
I'm sorry. And I'm thinking about the 7 chakras, maybe because we are in India with this text.
7 chakras, right. Yeah, 7 chakras is most probably also related. But we looked into these chakras into our system. It is 12 behind, yeah? 7 which are known to us. I hope it is not 12 times 12 because
Wasn't 26. I heard about 26 as well.
that would be too much to think of. No, right.
I was quite interested by your translation that you gave, passing the waters. You said the water is the embryo, no? Because it seems also to be a sort of, well, of course, there's this physiological image of life growing inside the womb of the mother in a watery space, but this idea of the stream, or also in the embryo, seems to me very interesting. A sort of intermediate stage in between the one and the individual embodiments, and the separation, no? Seems to be an intermediate stage in between the total oneness, the fullness of the divine, and the forms that will appear as individuated somehow, because already you have these streams that, like a one river that starts to have facets or have different aspects.
Sometimes they speak about 7 or rivers or 7 streams or 7 oceans, you know. It's also kind of, these are levels of consciousness and being, which are kind of overlapping or have to be present. Their presence has to be there within these waters. But what you said about the womb, it's really there, this idea, because the embryo which is developing in the womb is that being which is to be born, the Lord. Yeah? And even physically, it is the symbol of the same birth of the Lord. Yeah? First he is in the mother, in the waters, and then he is born finally. Yeah? He becomes the one separated being, living, which is... and 9 months is also very important. These 9 Navagva rishis who did the sacrifice for 9 months, and on the 10th month they broke through to the transcendental, so to say, basically the same imagery. Maybe it is subconsciously connected, you know. There is a very beautiful book by Stanislav Grof, maybe you know it, Beyond the Brain, where he describes all the
Czech.
Yes, the Czech one. Actually, he did an amazing job with LSD, and see, he collected all the paintings by people in the specific state of remembering, deeper memory. Yeah? And so they drew different pictures, and then they collected those pictures, thousands of them, into 4 different sections, and they were fitting in. There was the same kind of a theme or topic in 4 of them, and these 4 became matrices. First is the embryonic life, yeah? That is the beginning of the oceanic stage, as he calls. Oceanic, now waters come, yeah? Where you draw yourself as in the infinite ocean, or you on the back of some fish which is carrying you through the ocean. So this was one topic, oceanic stage. Freedom, happiness, very beautiful colors, harmonious shapes, and so on. Then second stage, you develop another stage where you become more solid. There is no more ocean, there is something else. And if you examine embryonic life, that's what he did. So we start with the embryo which is close to fish. It actually resembles totally the fish. We are born, we are in the stage of the fish embryonic life in one moment of time. Then we change into the animal, then we change into the human being. But in 9 months, we cover the whole evolution from the plant to the human being. All the stages. You can take those embryos and compare to the embryos of the fish, of the animals. They are fitting. So basically, through the 9 months, we are experiencing the whole evolution of consciousness in the being. It's a very amazing thought. You know, it is coming from his book. And then somebody compared this embryo life with 10 avatars of Vishnu. And they say, wow, look, it is exactly the same. First the Kurma avatar, and then fish. Then you have the development of fish, Kurma, so the tortoise, then the animal, the Varaha, then you have the half man, half animal. Yes. Then you have a human being. Then you have higher human being, and even finally the whole development is in 9 months in 10 avatars. So the physical has to reflect something of the spiritual event, of the evolution of consciousness. It can't be that the physical is doing something else. It should be the same symbolic representation of that development. And we have it in the embryo life. So embryon and that growing in the mother, Mata Rishva, is actually something of that kind, what you are saying. And Sri Krishna says he puts the garbha, the embryo, inside the Brahman. Samam Brahman, garbham. He is not establishing the waters, he is establishing the embryo. The word garbha is used. So you are intuitively hitting the right note here. There's something here for the Lord to be born totally conscious in the body. So the physicality takes this task and makes it nature makes it in its own way, but we can see that the symbolism will be the same of him being born here. And the fourth matrix is beautiful. He says, Stanislav Grof, he says that the fourth one is, the third one is very tight when the pressure grows and the human being feels like attacked from all sides. They are drawing Mahakali, killing, chopping off heads and so on, full of blood. Everybody draws Mahakali in that stage. They never heard of Mahakali, but they make pictures of her. It's really an amazing book. You know, people from the West are making these pictures. And then there is the fourth stage when the pressure grows on the head. And the fourth stage, you're relieved into light. Yeah? You are breaking through into another dimension. You are coming out. Yeah? You are born to another world. And there is light and freedom and relief of all the pressure. And that is the freedom. So when we compare with the stages of light, it's mukti, so to say. You are freed from the pressure of being born. Very interesting. I think it determines our way of seeing things, this kind of subconscious way of being born. It determines all our philosophies, all our visions, all our ways of finding the truth. So here we have these symbols again. I do not know what determines what. Maybe it is not that the way to be born is determining our thinking. Maybe the spirit is finding the way to be embodied through this symbol in nature. And then we take it upside down. We think that it is determining our way of thinking. Of course it does, but first it was determining the nature, the way how the Lord will be born. So I'm not sure what is first. Very interesting thoughts. Usually we are not speaking about these things with these shlokas. We are going into very kind of purely spiritual content. So, yastu sarvani bhutani atman yevanupashyati. Now there is a shift again towards yah, towards who in the masculine gender. But the one who sees all the beings, sarvani bhutani, atmani, in himself, eva anupashyati. Sarva bhuteshu chatmanam, and in all the beings, all the becomings himself, tato na vijugupsate, he shrinks not thereafter from aught. He is not shrinking. He is not afraid from anything. He is not afraid because he sees himself in all the becomings and all the becomings in himself. Why should he be afraid? Afraid means, shrinking means that He is not willing to hide what it says. Na vijugupsate. Interesting that jugupsa is desertive from gup, to be protected or to hide. He's not willing to be protected. There is, or to be hidden. He doesn't want to hide. He is everywhere himself, in all the becomings. Can you imagine the stage where you are not afraid of anything? This is a wonderful stage. Because you see all the beings in yourself and yourself in all the beings. And then next is very similar to it. Yasmin sarvani bhutani atmaiva bhut vijanatah tatra ko mohah kakshoka ekatvam anupashyatah. He in whom it is the self-being that has become all existences that are becomings, for he has the perfect knowledge. How shall he be deluded? Whence shall he have grief, who sees everywhere oneness? Literally, in whom Yasmin, Sarvani Bhutani, all the beings, Atma Eva Abhut, became himself, Vijanatah, of the one who distinguishes, who sees clearly, who has this discrimination of these things, who has the supramental knowledge, vision. Tatra ko mohah, what kind of moha there can be? What kind of bewilderment? Kah shoka, what kind of suffering? Ekatvam anupashyatah, of the one who sees the oneness. Now, what I want to say, that the first previous two shlokas about the spirit, which is far and near, inside and outside of all this, into whom the Matarishva establishes the waters, the consciousness, and he grows within the mother and becoming born within the mother as the Lord. He now sees himself in all the beings. It is because of the spirit he can do it, because of the all-pervading spirit present in all the beings. He can see himself in all beings and all beings in himself. This is the provision which is given by Brahman, by the spirit. This vision of oneself in all beings and all beings in oneself would not be possible if Brahman would not be there. The Brahman provides this possibility for the Lord to see himself in all the beings and all the beings in himself. And all of them, all the becomings, can become Atman, himself, for the one who sees clearly with the supramental vision. Then what kind of bewilderment, what kind of pain, suffering be there for the one who sees this oneness? There can't be. There are a few notes. Number 7. The word sarvani bhutani, literally, all things that have become, are opposed to Atman, self-existent and immutable being. The phrase means ordinarily all creatures, but its literal sense is evidently insisted on in the expression bhutani abhut, became the becomings. So the idea is the acquisition in man of the supreme consciousness by which the one self in him extends itself to embrace all creatures and realizes the eternal act by which the one manifests itself in the multiple forms of the universal motion. What a beautiful idea. It's actually the spiritual transformation. That's a very spiritual transformation where the individual spirit, the individual psychic being extends and grows into the cosmic universal being. Yeah. So, but this growth and expansion of the being is possible because of the spirit pervading all. So we have at the beginning saying that all this is for habitation by the Lord, therefore be free as he is free and enjoy all this, being free. Then engage yourself with the working for him, staying here full cycle of life, thus you create the embodiment for him. Or some people who deny their own spirit, they go into the nature and become part of nature. And then there is a shift towards the spirit. Spirit is everywhere, inside and outside, far and near, moving and moving not, faster than all the movements because it pervades all of them and it goes abroad. It goes to the transcendental. And it gives a possibility for the Lord to identify with all the becomings and to expand his, so to say, to colonize his becomings. He can grow within the becomings and become their self. And then there will be no bewilderment and there will be no suffering. So these are the ideas of these few 7 shlokas, what we went through. And then there is a shift. And maybe it is the 3rd movement where we will start it next time. Okay, we will stop here. If you have something, some observations, questions, please.
It's very simple. I noticed that you started last session and this one with this mantra about Purna.
Mm-hmm.
Is this related with Isha traditionally?
Yes. It is the Shantipatha of Vajrasane Samhita, and also it is used before Isha Upanishad, yes. You know the translation, yes, Purnamadav? Yeah, you know. Yes, it relates.
I knew the mantra, but I didn't know it was related to Isha.
Right, it is, yes. Sri Aurobindo doesn't translate it, but do not know why. Somewhere he made a translation of this mantra. We have to find it. But the translation is quite easy. Yes, that is complete or full, and this is complete, Purnamida. And from the fullness arises, the completeness arises. Again, the same vision of the Isha. Yeah? From the fullness, which is transcendental, the fullness in manifestation arises. So it is being born. It is not yet fully achieved, but it is arising. So all this is for habitation by the Lord. It is slowly being born, more and more embodying his spirit. So, and then Purnasya Purnam Adaya, having taken fullness from fullness, even if you take everything from this manifestation, Purnameva Vashishyate, the fullness will still remain. And that is the Brahman. Brahman will always provide that fullness of the Lord here. And that is something very interesting to think of.
And one more philological question: this shifts that you mentioned are never considered to be due to some work of collection in between different parts. It's considered the Isha is considered to be received and expressed by one person in a row, like no philological approach suggested that these different shifts can come, different parts, and the slokas can come from a collection, from a compilation.
Okay, from some other place. No, it's Vajrasane Samhita. It is actually Isha Upanishad is a part of Samhita text, you know. It is the only Upanishad, the only which is a part of the Samhita text. It is the last chapter of Vajrasaneyi Samhita. 40th chapter, by the way, number 40, kind of also interesting number. It is considered to be the oldest because it is the part of Samhita. If you take other Upanishads, such as, for example, Brihadaranyaka, it will be part of Shatapatha Brahmana, or Kena Upanishad is a part of Jaiminiya Upanishad Brahmana. They are also very ancient because they are part of Brahmanas. Aitareya Upanishad is a part of Aitareya Aranyaka, and Taittiriya Upanishad is a part of Taittiriya Aranyaka, which is part of Taittiriya Brahmana. But this one is not part of Brahmana. It is a part of Samhita. So, in a way, it's an original text. There will be quotations from this Upanishad in other texts, but it is not quoting any other text here. It's not referring to some other text. If you mean that, I'm not sure whether you...
Last week there was an article on The Guardian. It seems that Christopher Marlowe has been credited as the author of part of the corpus that we know as a Shakespeare corpus. No? Very often we go back to, or for Homerus it was the same, not the Homeric poems. We don't know exactly if they were composed by one single person or were somehow reunited by one poet, but coming from different sources. So it was just one.
Well, there is a story behind this, if you want to know, that Yajnavalkya, who is the author of Vajrasaneyi Samhita and Shatapatha Brahmana and Brihadaranyaka Upanishad, he, most probably I already mentioned this, he was arguing with Vaishampayana Rishi. There was an argument about whether to include Brahmanas into the Samhita text or not. And it is mentioned in the Brahmanas. So there was the dispute, and he disagreed, and he went against the authority of Guru, which is, unheard of that. From that time, you would never go against the authority of Guru. So Vaishampayana told him to give back the knowledge he received and leave the ashram. So he gave back his knowledge to him. That was Taittiriya Samhita, as it is described that he opened his mouth and small bird Tittiri flew out. That was the Taittiriya Samhita. Taittiriya Samhita is called after this small bird, Tittiri. Can you imagine? The whole Krishna Yajurveda, the whole Yajurveda Samhita is called after the Tittiri which flew out of the mouth of Yajnavalkya. It's kind of bizarre. It's very nice what mythology can do. Yes, and then he left to Himalayas to contemplate and to bring back, so to say, original Samhita text. And he received new revelation from the sun, as it is said. The sun revealed to him a greater knowledge, most probably supramental knowledge. Sri Aurobindo says that Isha Upanishad deals with supramental knowledge. And then that was it. And that is called Shukla Yajurveda, white Yajurveda, where the Brahmanas are not introduced into the Samhita text. And this is called Vajrasaneyi Samhita or Yajnavalkya Samhita also, because of his name. So his father was Vajraseni, so he is also Vajrasaneyi. So Vajrasaneyi, it's according to his father. Now the whole Samhita is called after his father. It's kind of also interesting. So he is considered to be the author, the only one of this. I don't think anyone else is claiming this text. It's even after his name, Yajnavalkya Samhita. And Yajnavalkya is mentioned in the Brihadaranyaka Upanishad. He had two wives. Is we will come to it. We will read it. It's very interesting how he teaches them the knowledge, the higher knowledge he received from the sun. All right, so we will stop here for today. And
Excuse me, where can I find the Purna mantra?
okay, I will send to you. No problem. I will.
Thank you.
And with the translation, yes, I will make and send you. Okay, so we will close with the mantra. Om Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.